Today, let's start by diving into a powerful, controversial, and widely circulated slogan that rose to prominence during the Me Too movement. What's that slogan? Believe all women. Now, let's have some preliminary thoughts about slogans for a moment. A good slogan says a lot by saying very little. That's actually what makes it effective, but also potentially dangerous. The best slogans work because they trigger immediate reactions. They don't just inform, they ignite. And because of that, slogans can shut down rational thought sometimes, just as quickly as they can provoke it. Let's take, for example, the slogan, Black Lives Matter. Now, you would think that a reasonable person wouldn't have a problem with that slogan, but then again, this is America, and we know the history of America, and that's a slogan that would not have been accepted in many respects throughout the history of this country. But you say that slogan in 2025, some will accept it, but many will still have a problem with it. And it can create ideas of only Black Lives Matter, or Black Lives Matter more, or some type of connection to violence, riots, or political movements. Or even more current is the phrase diversity, equity, and inclusion, or its more common acronym, DEI. Again, on the face of it, who could be opposed to diversity, equity, and inclusion? But once again, this is America. So America was built on an opposition to those ideals, but the slogan thrown around in today's political climate, and particularly the acronym, people quickly fall on one side of the other. These types of phrases can cause people to immediately take sides before they've even thought about what's being said or the idea that's being conveyed. The phrase Black Lives Matter has 3 words, but somehow it's managed to polarize an entire country. And DEI is such a politically charged phrase that people react to the acronym itself instead of even remembering what the word or the acronym stands for. So when we look at Believe All Women, the first thing I have to ask is, what exactly are we being told to believe? And what are the implications of saying that? Let's start by taking the words at face value. Believe all women. On its surface, that would seem to suggest that everything that any woman has ever said about anything should automatically be believed. But that would obviously be an absurdity on the face of it. That's an absurd standard because no group, whether men, women, believers, pastors, politicians, no group deserves blanket belief without scrutiny. Human beings lie. We tell lies, we exaggerate, we misremember. That's just the reality. But of course, the context of this slogan matters. Believe all women was tied to the Me Too movement, which itself was a slogan, Me Too, which was about exposing sexual harassment, abuse, and systemic mistreatment of women in male-dominated spaces, especially in the workplace, especially the church, and especially politics. And in that context, Believe All Women was meant to be a corrective. It was meant to push back against a culture that consistently ignores and doubts and attempts to silence women who come forth with allegations. In that sense, the slogan was necessary. It created space for conversation and investigation and accountability. But here's the problem. Here's a problem that I perceive. The slogan does not leave room for the complexity of truth. And when a slogan tries to say too much, when it overreaches, it has the potential to backfire. So when you say believe all women, all it takes is one woman who lies, a woman who exaggerates, one woman who fabricates an accusation. And suddenly that one lie becomes ammunition to invalidate thousands of real stories. And yes, that is unfair, but it is also reality. When the slogan leaves no room for false accusations or nuance, it creates a fragile platform for an incredibly serious issue. And I say this not just from a place of theory. I say this from personal experience because I myself have been falsely accused. Once, a woman claimed that I was using my position of authority to sexually harass her. The accusation didn't gain traction because the details fell apart pretty quickly. But had the people around the situation been operating under the mindset of believe all women, that lie had the potential to create devastation in my professional life. So, yes, I do understand why the slogan was created. I do understand what it was meant to correct. But we need language that does more than react. We need language that guides us towards truth, language that is precise. So we can affirm that sexual harassment is real. We can affirm that abuse is far too common. We can affirm that women have historically been silenced and ignored. And we can also say every accusation deserves careful consideration, not automatic belief, not automatic dismissal, just due diligence, thoughtfulness, investigation, discernment, wisdom, and truth. And especially in the church, where far too many have abused power under the guise of spirituality. We have a responsibility to build spaces where people feel safe to speak, where victims are heard, where leadership is accountable, and where discernment guides our response. Jesus said in John 7:24, "Stop judging according to outward appearances. Rather judge according to righteous judgment." We need that righteous judgment today, not just slogans, not tribal responses, but a commitment to truth, even when it is uncomfortable. Because the goal isn't just to believe all women. The goal is to find out what's true and to create a culture where the truth can actually be told and actually be heard.
Hallelujah.